how video store owner Bob Achille got interested in VCRs in the first place on this episode of Instantly Dated at the Video Store.
Stand by to roll show open. Roll show open. Take show open.
One day, I was driving down the road in Shelton, Connecticut. I did a double take when I thought I saw a mom and pop video store in a converted house. I went up to the front door and peeked in the window. I couldn't believe the VHS tapes this place had. The sign on the door said, "Call the owner, and he'll open it up for you." So I did, and Bob, the owner, and I hit it off right away. Now, we're reminiscing about the good old days and creating new memories with you. So hang out with us on Instantly Dated at the Video Store.
Stand by in 3, 2, and we're live.
And we're here at the Video Store in Shelton, Connecticut, Video 7 with Bob Achille. And you were born and raised here, right?
Born and raised in Shelton, never moved out of Shelton, Connecticut. My first job during high school, real job, where I had to, go in after school as a part-time, was in a place called Caldor, which is kind of like a local department store chain.
And it's funny too that you say Caldor because it's kind of the one like Montgomery Ward's. It's one of these stores that's beloved. I didn't have it. I grew up in the Midwest growing up, but one of the YouTube channels that I love and is beloved by a lot of people. This guy James Rolfe that I was talking to you about briefly, who has this YouTube channel called Cinemassacre, and he set up his own video store in his basement, and they shoot there, and it's so funny. In the intro, they say that their video store is located next to Caldor.
Is that right?
In the Voorhees Shopping Center, they say, and I wonder if that's Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th or something like that. But yeah, it's funny that you say Caldor. When did you start working over at Sikorsky? And for those people that don't know here, that's how would you describe Sikorsky?
Well, Sikorsky is a manufacturer of helicopters, like the leading one in the world, really. And I was in the machining department because when I went to high school, it was a technical high school where I chose machining and learned how to run all these machines and do a little bit of programming. And I went from one small shop to another small shop, and then to Sikorsky. For somebody like me, I could get bored pretty quick, But from the example of the paper route to working in retail with customers and enjoying that experience, I was pretty good with customer service. I think I never got it out of my head to someday do something where I had my own customers, and along the way, some of the technology that I saw coming up really kind of intrigued me, and I got a subscription to a magazine called Video Magazine. And it would kind of highlight new equipment. And these are back in the days, of course, where you want a color television? That's $5,000. A color camera? That's $5,000. Versus, I was only able to afford a black and white one, but I still thought it was unbelievable because wait a minute, you can actually tape this, So. In playing around with some of those, reading those articles and the VCR coming out in beta by Sony, and I read enough to know that Betamax was the better of the war, if you will, between Beta and VHS. So I bought one, and from what the gentleman told me at the location, I was the second one to buy one in this area, because I spent all my money.
Where'd you buy it from?
I bought it from a place called, it's going to escape me. I know it was in Ansonia.
Was it like was it a mom and pop electronics store?
It was a television store.
Okay.
It was a television store. I know the gentleman was from New York that opened up, a store in the Valley. But they had this oddball thing with the televisions called a VCR. And I went over there, and it was way too much money, and I got a little bit of help from my father to buy it because I wanted it so badly. And, you'd say, well, what do you want that for? And I just thought it was fantastic because it's hard for people today to understand how impossible it was to do anything but watch live television. There was nothing else. You didn't see it? Well, then you never are going to see it. Basically, that's the way it was. And so I said, if I liked a show on Thursday night, like in the 60s, I liked Lost in Space, the first one, on Wednesday nights. I would cry as a little kid every week because, to be continued in 2 weeks instead of one, that was like about 6 years when you're 8 years old or something. So, I said to be able to not have to be home on this particular night and still be able to watch the maybe 1 or 2 shows that I want to see, I thought that was such a great idea. So the misnomer from most of my friends were, oh, you like TV too much. It wasn't. I didn't want to be a slave to or have to stay home to watch a stupid TV program. But when I did want to sit down and watch TV, I wasn't watching commercials. I was watching shows, that I wanted to tape.
When we were talking previously about this, you were talking about the phrase time shift, and I didn't realize how early of a term that was, that people were using that, and how this was a new phenomenon and really changing the landscape of the media industry.
Again, this is barely past the time when everything went to color, and now I'm able to record something and watch it. It was when I had that, being one of the first ones anybody saw in my family. When they would come over, that would be like a little bit of a spotlight. Hey, check this out.
What was the first time when you started seeing pre-recorded cassettes?
That took a little while, as I was reading in the magazine about what was becoming available. I first wanted simply to sell VCRs to people, because I said, this is going to go crazy, I said, here's something that I know firsthand, I could easily sell, and everybody's going to be getting it. Now, I did get kind of faked out by I was a little bit too ahead in the technology, knowing beta was better, but what I didn't know was that people wouldn't look at quality. They would look at which one's cheaper, which one can record a little bit longer. That's all. They didn't say, they never went at the time the next step to see how good of a picture it was. Although improvements had been made, beta had an advantage in that. And it's kind of lucky I got a little bit delayed, going to the business. I would have had a store full of beta and been sitting by myself.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, it probably would have been 84-ish when I started going to the video store, at least myself. But I remember there being this small beta section. It was almost like the section for the Mac computer games as opposed to the PC computer games. Yeah. On the next episode of Instantly Dated at the Video Store, we transition from Betamax to how Bob fell into the video rental business.
The renting movies part of thing was one of these happy accidents.
Don't miss out. Download the Instantly Dated app from the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Instantly Dated. You can find it in your grocer's freezer.